What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we actually don't have any guests today, so it's just going to be Colby and I for the full hour. Maybe we'll go a little shorter, maybe go a little longer. Don't necessarily have, I don't know. I feel like this one might get off the rails with the direction that we're going to go in it because we're just going to go all over the place with last night's game between Dallas and Edmonton. It felt like Edmonton was in full control. They get the power play goal on the road. They had been 0 for 14 in the playoffs going into last night's game. They're up 3-1. It feels like they're going to run away with it. And yes, Kev Dog, you are right. The chat is our guest today. So we'll be getting to a lot of different chat comments, chat questions, and I'm already rambling. So I'm just going to kick it over to Colby, get your initial thoughts on last night's game. And we did joke that I don't know which team I jinxed worse last night, the Oilers or the Knicks, because
I was just gonna say what everybody failed to give enough credence to is how strong the Johnny jinx can be. I mean,
at times, not always.
It is mostly like clockwork. And I mean, it was the first thing I asked you this morning. Are Knicks fans more angry at you, or are Dallas Stars fans more angry at you this morning? Like, I haven't seen Brendan.
Dallas Stars fans be angry at me.
I mean, excuse me, Edmonton Oilers fans. I haven't seen Brendan in the chat gloating yet, and I also haven't seen any of our normal, Oilers suspects in the chat yet. And JD Friel says, I'm starting to become a believer in the jinx. Johnny is 10% right about 30% of the time, says Ice Club. So look, I think that
to be fair, I didn't tweet anything about the Knicks winning the game last night.
You know what surprised me a little bit yesterday? I started to see people saying, oh, Skinner is gonna Skinner, this team won't win with Skinner. I mean, look, the first goal, the Heiskanen, let's start with the three power play goals, right? Because the Seguin goal is a breakaway goal by a guy who's been an elite hockey player in the National Hockey League for a long time. Like, you're not going to – it's just mano-a-mano. It's a good move. It's a bad turnover by Draisaitl. I mean, really bad turnover by Draisaitl. And anybody who wants to
I just want to address D. White. I'm not on the Oilers bandwagon. I take the Stars in 6. So – don't think I'm rooting for Edmonton here in this series. I mean, granted, I'd like to see Connor McDavid win the Stanley Cup. Like, I'd probably rather see McDavid win over any other player remaining in the playoffs, but I'm not like sitting here cheering on the Oilers. Like, I picked Dallas in 6 games.
Yeah, well, so you think about the 3 power play goals, and look, we got a tweet last night.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Which I thought was. I want to address this tweet. I guess we'll start there. From Kevin's ID. He tweeted you and I and said, a lot of people had Dallas's funeral planned after 2 periods, me included. So he did, he's not just pointing fingers at everyone else. And he said, tomorrow the podcasts are going to talk about Edmonton blowing it, but Dallas made simple adjustments to their game and unloaded on Edmonton in the 3rd period. And first off, I don't think they made simple adjustments. They scored 3 power play goals within 6 minutes, and their power play was 30% coming into this series. So it's not as if this has been a bad power play. And 2 of the 3 power play goals came from their quote unquote second unit. We know that's not the second unit. I mean, Miro Heiskanen's on that unit, Jason Robertson, Tyler Seguin. Like, that's not a Robertson. But I don't really blame Stuart Skinner last night. The Heiskanen goal, how are you blaming Stuart Skinner for that? I mean, there's 3 Edmonton Oilers in a line, and if this is the commitment here, you've got to block that shot. I mean, that is a perfectly placed shot. That's on Janmark, that's on Stetcher, and that is on Darnell Nurse. Like, Darnell, if you're going to front the shooter, which I have no problem with, by the way, on a power play, you don't want to get tied up in front. You got to block that shot, right? And then you look at the other goals. I mean, these are power play goals.
Granlund's shot was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Granlund's shot is a great shot. Again, a good screen on that Granlund shot. Yeah. But I really don't look at that and say Stuart Skinner had a bad night. I really don't.
No.
Now, he faced very little pressure until the third period. I mean, it's funny. I was texting with Tyler, and I'm like, wow, Edmonton looks like the best defensive team in the playoffs right now.
First 40 minutes, if that game remains 5-on-5, like Edmonton runs away with it.
Dallas had absolutely nothing going within the high danger area. And Pete DeBoer alluded to it in his interview, and he does give you pretty thorough answers. Like, he wasn't upset when they were getting outplayed. He felt like they were playing okay. They just weren't maybe quite as sharp. But look, this is why you can't take penalties, and this is where Edmonton feasted on teams last year.
And this is what separated these two teams in last year.
What I'm saying. But last night, 3 power, you're not going to win a playoff game when the other team gets 3 power play goals. It's never going to happen. And so, that to me is a pretty big overarching theme of the game. Other than that, though, like, Edmonton played a good game. Like, their penalty kill.
If I'm an Oilers fan, I'm not feeling bad. I'm not.
You're not
bad.
panicking.
Yeah. I mean, you're pissed that they let one slip away, but you're not saying, like, I'm not even sitting here saying they have to win game 2. Like, they're so fine.
Listen, this is gonna be a good series. It almost is a little bit of a wake up call to Edmonton, who's really been the hottest team. I mean, they were 8-1 going into the game last night, something like that. So,
also, Colby, look on the flip side. I mean, we didn't. 1 second, let me just double check my microphone here. It's not plugged in. Call it Vic. Way to do your job.
There you go.
Better, but. You look at Edmonton's goals last night that they scored.
Ottinger was
pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, the Bouchard. Well, listen, I don't know if you can blame Ottinger on the Draisaitl one or the Bouchard. Honestly, all three. Like, Nugent Hopkins is right in the slot and untouched.
I don't like that he doesn't come up with at least 2 of those. Like, I think Jake Ottinger's got to come up with 2 of those.
Which ones?
Well, the
Draisaitl walks right in. That's one of the best, if not.
I understand that, but the Bouchard goal, like, he just kind of loses his positioning and gets beat. Like, I just don't like. I think look, there's no screen. He's not fighting.
That one's fair. That one's fair. Yeah,
I mean, I want that saved.
Yeah. The other two though, I don't blame an Ottinger either.
Yeah, listen, again, you're facing a 50 goal scorer, and but again, we're raising our standards. If you want to be the guy, make 2 of those saves. Right? Even if you shouldn't, make 2 of those saves. When there's not a lot of traffic, like, I'd like to see you make that save. I really would, especially the Bouchard goal I don't like. So, and I do want to talk about that first goal, though, that Draisaitl scored. So I want to show something. I want to show something that McDavid does here. Go ahead, Vic. Just roll this a little bit. Watch on this play. Once McDavid moves the puck, okay? Right here. Stop it. Keep your eye on McDavid, Vic. Give a little pointer to McDavid. He's in the middle of the screen. And for those of you who are audio only, McDavid is just above the hash marks, kind of within the circle, the face-off dot on the right side. And what he does here is he doesn't set a pick or a moving pick, right? But he just skates through his lane. And by skating through his lane, he doesn't really give I think it's Johnston the opportunity to close on Draisaitl. And I'm not saying he would have closed on him anyway, but just look, real subtle. Just skates in his lane, stops moving, doesn't run into him, doesn't hit him, okay? And he just gives Draisaitl just the smallest amount of breathing room, which is really all Draisaitl needs, as we know. And, everybody's all up in arms about the spinorama play that McDavid made, which, like, okay, like, it looked cool, but, like, I actually thought Dallas defended it pretty well because what?
They're up in arms about that play.
Well, people are like, oh my God, that spinorama is unbelievable. Like, I actually think Dallas defended that pretty well.
I didn't see any of that. Yeah.
I think Dallas defends it pretty well. He has to kick it out wide, right? They chase it out of the middle, but he's just, even when he's not, like, making this flashy pass or whatever, like, McDavid's just multiple steps ahead of everybody. Like, he understands all the chess pieces on the board. And that little subtle play by him to just keep moving through the lane is why that goal, why Draisaitl has that. And Randy in the chat says, Colby, it is a legal pick. It's not even a pick. Like, of course it's legal. He doesn't do anything wrong there. He just skates through the lane. He doesn't have to set a pick there. He just creates the smallest amount of separation.
I don't even think he makes contact with Johnson.
He doesn't. That's why I'm saying it to me, it's not a pick, Randy. It's more just him understanding like spatial awareness and just moves through a lane to create a little bit of separation for somebody else. And it'll never get called. It'll never get looked at. And most people, they're not even talking about it, honestly. But it's an incredible play. By the way, it's funny because I have Rocket on my lap today. He wanted to make an appearance on the show today.
Yeah, it's always Oliver.
Oliver's always getting all the attention, so the little guy's sitting with me today. So,
but Colby, to that point, watching PK and Messier in the intermission, like they were talking about that line specifically, also for Dallas. Like, I'm pretty sure Mark Messier called them out and said like they are not good enough defensively to be matched against McDavid and Draisaitl's line. Like you look at Duchain and Johnson. I know they had Robertson on their line last night, so you can't really like use Robertson stats because he hasn't really played a ton in these playoffs. But even Robertson, I guess I will say he's -4 right now in the playoffs. Johnson's -15 and Matt Duchain is -11. Like, and you have those guys defending McDavid and Draisaitl out there, like, and they're playing a man-to-man. That's one thing that PK was talking about is that Wyatt Johnson has to respect the skill of McDavid and Draisaitl because they are playing man-to-man, but you also have to communicate with Matt Duchain if you guys are going to switch guys and whatnot, because Johnson's too far out on that switch with Draisaitl.
I think one of those.
The man-to-man D zone against the Oilers is certainly a choice.
It's not and not a wise one because they have too many guys that can expose you one-on-one. Like you need layered help to defend Edmonton. You need layered help. It just doesn't work, right? And so look, I plenty of people, like that tweet said from Kevin, people were planning the Oilers or Dallas's funeral, and like I said, they look like a faster team, they look like a hungrier team, but special teams, like we had Tyler on the show yesterday and he talked about special teams. Okay. We had Josh on the show yesterday. He talked about special teams. Okay. So everybody knew it would be a factor in the series. And how about all the people whining about the Matt Duchain high stick? That was a blatant high stick. I mean, Duchain got paddled in the face. Like, I don't know what it is people are upset about. I mean, you literally smack the guy in the face with your stick. And so I like what are people are calling this a phantom? Did you see that online?
I saw the opinions, and honestly, I saw a different video, and at first glance, it was made out to look that way from the angle that I saw. But then when I saw this morning, it was clear as day. I mean, again, like it's not something I was outraged about when I first saw, but I did see a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was like just blatantly.
Well, I think it's also because oh my God, I need the chat to help me. I forgot in the first round, I think Jamie Benn like milked a high stick. Like he didn't get high sticked at all. I think it hit him in the chest and he like threw his arms up to draw a penalty. So I think people going against Dallas right now, knowing that, are pissed off to see another Dallas Star look like they may have milked a high stick, even though this one, clear as day, actually hit Duchain in the face.
As you well know, Johnny, I know you took a puck to the face, right? Isn't that that really bad one was from a puck or a stick?
Yeah. I mean, I've taken them all, but
when you take a high stick to the face and you're never expecting to be high stuck in the face, even though you should probably be, because it's like the game that you're playing. It is a very like it's hard to really put it into words, but the reason you see guys have such a visceral reaction to getting hit in the face, sometimes even if you don't get it really bad, it's very startling, right? Like you're playing and then you don't know. Like I remember the first really bad one I took, Johnny, which got me for about a dozen stitches across here. Or was it here or here? I don't remember what spot it was, but
yeah.
My original thought was like, holy shit, I didn't know if my teeth fell out. Like you just don't know, right? And sometimes if you take it up even higher, because I got one up here too, your initial reaction is you're worried about your eye, like, because everything feels like it's it's like pulsating and like you can feel it. And like you don't know what happened to your eye either. So there is definitely a reaction that you have to that sometimes you don't even realize, what's going on. And that's where you see guys like immediately grab their face. Like I'll kind of back up a player who does that.
Yeah, 100%. The first high stick I actually took was like 6th grade. I was playing mini sticks with my friends in the basement, and I took a high stick right here. Got like 5 stitches right here. Felt like a badass.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah.
Wow.
Had a scar next day in school. And everyone's like, what happened? I was like, playing hockey. It's just mini sticks. Oh, yeah. Great job, Vic. So here's, Jamie Benn skates into the stick of Manson and looks like he got shot. Do you remember this from round 1, Colby?
I do.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
It's like I said, though, it's not comfortable to get smacked in the face with a hockey stick. It isn't. So,
Yeah, but when you see shit like that, like Ben skates into the stick of Manson and it doesn't even catch him in the face, and it looks like his legs were taken out. So you see the Duchain thing happen. If obviously Oilers fans, I'm sure the ones that were complaining probably remember that play from round 1, and they're going to be up in arms too. I don't blame them. Listen, if I was a fan of the Oilers and I saw that and I knew what Jamie Benn had done in the first round, I'd probably be pissed too.
Right.
But then you obviously see the other angles and see the stick get caught in the face, and it's like, oh shit, okay. You're tuning me out.
No, I'm listening.
What are you paying attention to? What are you looking at?
They went to McDavid and Draisaitl the last like 6-7 minutes of the third period of that game. You think they start with that next game, or do you think they keep Draisaitl with Podkolzin and who's he playing with? Podkolzin and now I'm drawing a blank.
Was it Vander Kane?
Yeah, Podkolzin and Kane on that line. Looking for that balanced attack, and then obviously.
Oh no! It's Kasperi Kapanen.
Was it Kapanen? Oh, yeah, you're right. It was
the lines last night were
Kane plays with
David, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Podkolzin, Draisaitl, Kapanen.
It'll be interesting, but look, you got to stay off you got to stay out of the box. I think that's pretty obvious from last night's game, and you got to get saves from your goaltender. Like I don't think either goaltender's walking away feeling like they had an A performance. I don't think either goalie was bad, but I don't think either of them had not like one of their A level performances. So I'm just reading what I was trying to actually go back and find in my notes for what the 3 keys were from Tyler. Tyler said power play 1, which was 1 for 3. He said Skinner had to be over a 900, but he was at an 815, and depth scoring, which they got none of. Okay. Where Josh said their power play, there was 3 for 4. The star players have to show up, right? They got goals from a lot of their big dogs. Heiskanen gets a goal. Duchain gets a goal. Sagan gets a goal. So you get a little bit of help. Granlund's been pretty productive. And then Josh's other key was Jake Ottinger, which, Ottinger only had an 889 last night. So, Vic had it as sort of a green check mark, but I'm not sure that I would agree that they get the green check mark. But if you're looking, 2 of the 3 keys go towards what Josh said, and Dallas comes out with a win, right? So these are people that know their teams very intimately well. And I think that was evident last night's game. So
I just wanted to address our friend MYR Marine. He said, there's no excusing being an idiot, Johnny. Being upset about a clear high stick is a 0 IQ take from whoever you don't have to give them credence. Listen, when your team is in the conference final and you are passionate about that team, I'll give you a little leeway to be an idiot because I understand what it's like. I understand the delusion that goes into being a fan. But the next day, if you had an idiotic take from the night before, and you can understand that it was stupid, the next day you should admit that it was stupid. So fans last night, they were upset. They're in the heat of the moment. The game is, right there in front of them, and they're all worked up. But the next day, I'm sure they can go back and look and say, you know what? That was dumb of me. I fucked up. So I know what it's like to be in the heat of the moment when you are a fan and to get all worked up and to get passionate. And the next day when you sleep and things cool down, you can look back at yourself and say, you know what? That was my bad. So I will excuse them. I'm sorry to go against you, MYR Marine, but I'll allow Oilers fans to be idiots last night, this morning. If they're still doing it, I'll call them out. But that's how I feel about being a fan in this time of year.
Okay. Well, any cause for concern for you, Johnny, for the Edmonton Oilers? Like, did you look at last night and think, wow, they dominated 2 periods of hockey and they don't come out with a win, or no cause for concern for you?
Well, for me, the cause for concern was the special teams. Last year I said, like everyone said, it's obvious. The difference between these two teams in the Western Conference Final in 2024 was the Dallas Stars couldn't score in the power play. So if Dallas's power play is clicking the way it's been all playoffs long, yeah, there's a lot of concern for the Oilers, especially the way their PK has played all playoffs long. So, listen, sometimes in playoffs, it comes down to special teams and goaltending. And right now, Dallas has the better of those two categories. So, listen, I think Oilers fans shouldn't necessarily be worried, but if you're looking for areas for concern, those two are definitely right there in front of you. And sometimes the team that's better at 5-on-5 in a playoff series doesn't always win. Like you look in the past few postseasons, Carolina has been one of the best 5-on-5 teams, out of every team in the NHL, and they always come up short because they don't get the goaltending, they don't get the special teams. So that's one thing that you have to look at and say, listen, we have to clean this up, we have to tighten this up, or else we're not going to win a playoff series. Last year, special teams was the difference between these two teams, and right now it is again after game 1.
Yeah, I would agree. So, all right, look, before we move to the other series, Johnny, there has been some things going on around the National Hockey League, and I think one team in particular raised our eyebrows for our Out West worst team of the week. Within what's been going on. Why are you looking at me like
because I don't even know who you're talking about.
I guess you didn't read through the show then this morning. That's always a good thing. But so Brendan Shanahan was given permission yesterday to speak to the Islanders, which obviously made the rounds on social media. That definitely means it seems to me like Brendan Shanahan's days.
We never discussed this as our Out West worst team of the week.
Well, I'm sorry that I actually read what we
I read the rundown too. This was in no part of the Out West worst team of the week.
Okay, so I guess you can't read very well. I know you put that in the chat earlier that I can't read.
We didn't discuss this.
I just talking about the I read. I can read. So, anyways, it sounds like Brendan Shanahan is out in Toronto. My question, with your proximity and how big of an Islanders fan you are, what is your feeling on him coming and becoming the president of the New York Islanders?
Listen, I think this is what's wrong with hockey. Like, we take one guy who fails somewhere and then we put him somewhere else to see what he can do. And Vic, I'm aware. I read the rundown. I know what's happening. We didn't discuss it. So, we saw this with Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas, has the job in Toronto. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. What's going on with Pittsburgh? Nothing. I just think it's the typical rotation of these higher up jobs. One guy fails somewhere, you give him another chance somewhere else. And I mean, listen, Brendan Shanahan won 2 playoff series in 9 years in Toronto. The Islanders are just going to go give him the keys for what? What has he proven? Listen, and I have no dog in the fight, but sometimes it just seems to be what's wrong with hockey is that just so many guys get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity that haven't won. So why do they always get the opportunities?
So have you renounced your closeted Islanders fandom? Is that what I'm hearing from you? Because you just said you have no dog in the fight and you're generally behind the scenes, like yelling and screaming for the Islanders.
Shut up.
You really, I mean, you really are going to pretend like you don't brown nose every Islanders fan with every opportunity that you ever have to talk about the Islanders? Is that
sure, man? Yeah. I'm an Islanders. Yeah, sure.
Is that where we're going with this?
Sure.
Okay, so then let's ask you, since Johnny doesn't seem like he really wants to talk about it to the chat, how would you feel about Brendan Shanahan coming to your town and coming to your team and being the president of hockey operations? I mean, I do think you have to think about where the Toronto Maple Leafs were when Brendan Shanahan took over. They were not a team that was necessarily being looked at or respected or talked about. And if I remember going back, I think Shanahan there with Lou Lamoriello. I think that was his one of his early hires, and then he said goodbye to Lou, and he started kind of moving the pieces around a little bit. Obviously that was one of his hires, but he did oversee drafting Matthews.
Wow, look what Neil said.
Marner. Where's Neil?
I would rather keep Sweeney and Neely over Shanahan.
I would rather. Yeah, listen, I again, you guys hear me do this all the time. I actually defend Don Sweeney on this show quite often when everybody else wants to pile on. And I think Jeff just put something in the chat. Where do all these new managers come from, Johnny? There are a million places to learn and develop as a coach. Where do you learn and develop to be a president of hockey operations? Like, I mean, I'll tell you what I've seen. I've seen when I worked in Chicago, and Kyle Davidson was the assistant general manager there. He was with the organization for 12 years, I believe, literally started as an intern. But what I noticed pretty quickly was Brian Campbell was always with them, former Chicago Blackhawk defenseman, and has special assistant to the general manager title, and does special assignments, and would sit in on all these important meetings. So I guess, Jeff, that would be a place. Have you
talked to Danny about where Danny got where Danny learned everything? Briere and everything.
Well, first off, Danny went to Penn and got sort of this like athlete management degree. And the team paid for it. He also got put in charge of an East Coast League team that they bought. Comcast bought the Maine Mariners. I don't know if they still own them. And, he ran the Maine Mariners for a number of years but didn't necessarily run just the hockey ops. He had to learn how to run the business ops. He had marketing, ticketing, running the P&L, the spreadsheets, like everything. And then he sort of slowly transitioned into an advisor for Chuck Fletcher, the hockey ops decisions. So, I mean, Danny Briere took kind of a slow and steady approach and path, which, again, he went to UPenn, and they have this program. I know about this program, too, because my cousin did it when he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And they kind of give you this MBA. It's like an abbreviated MBA program for people like that, like exceptional level people in sports. So it took him maybe 10 years plus of sort of working in different parts of Danny Briere was probably pretty well suited to be a president of hockey ops, actually, if he wanted, because of the business acumen. But look, I think that you have a guy like Brennan Shanahan, and you have to remember some of these president of hockey ops jobs are like, I don't want to say they're figurehead jobs because I think that's a little bit unfair, but it's a guy that has enough cachet.
Well, it's a lot of former players, right?
Well, but it's somebody that has the cachet to have the respect and trust of the fan base. And I do think that Brennan Shanahan is pretty well respected. I mean, he's worked at the player, he's worked in player safety, he's worked in the front office of the league. So I don't necessarily think like Brendan Shanahan is this massive failure. He's obviously made some wrong decisions.
I don't think he's a failure by any means. I'm just saying, like, the success hasn't been there. So what makes you think it's going to happen somewhere else? It's not like the Islanders are this basement franchise right now. They've made the playoffs. Like, this was the first year they've missed in quite some time. They went to back-to-back conference finals. Like, I don't think the Islanders are in the position right now that the Leafs were in when Shanahan took over.
Right. Yeah, like I think if the Islanders could go out and they could get Brendan Shanahan, listen, I think Brendan Shanahan made the right decision bringing in Brad Treliving. I think he's done a nice job so far. I mean, that he's not been there that long. I think he's done a good job. I think he went out and he brought in Craig Berube, who I think is a good coach. He again oversaw a number of really, really good drafts. So there's got to be some good people in place there. Like you can beat up Kyle Dubas for some of the contracts.
What did you just call him?
I called him Kyle Dubas. Isn't that what his name?
No, you said Dubas.
Dubas, whatever. Like however
I thought that
you
would
want
take a shot. Okay.
Kyle Dubas. No, I just called him by his name. So I don't know, man. I don't think having Brennan Shanahan, if you're a New York Islanders fan, someone with that level of cachet in a market like that, I don't think that's a problem. You know,
but does it excite you?
You're talking about how Brennan Shanahan won 2 playoff series
in 9 years.
Can I just ask you a question that I think is a pretty important one?
Yeah.
When did Brennan Shanahan retire from playing? How many years ago?
Probably 2008 would be my guess. Because he was a Ranger. He was a Ranger in 2006, 2007. So my guess would be around then.
Okay, so I was just curious because I felt like the way you are phrasing it, it's like he played in all those playoff series that they lost because he didn't play. The guy doesn't put his equipment on anymore. You know?
Yeah, but is he not the one who kept the core four together? Couldn't decide that they weren't good enough. Is that not his?
Listen again. Of course he's a president.
He helped sign those players' contracts.
You've got to fall on those swords as much. You know, like you get a piece of the blame, but you've got guys who score 60 goals a season and get to the playoffs and they become completely irrelevant, right? So
yeah.
Listen,
I also will say just about the Leafs, Colby. Like I saw that clip going around of like every year, like the guys answering questions saying like next year. Like, what do you think the players that don't win the cup say? Like this, it wasn't just like a Maple Leafs thing. Like everyone wanted to pick on the Maple Leafs and those 4 guys for the way that they answered interview questions on like their exit days the past 9 years. But that's what everyone around the league says when they don't win the Stanley Cup. It's like, you know, we came up short next year. You know, we'll take this and we'll learn. But like everyone was just using it to pick on those guys, and I get it. It's fun to pile on sometimes, but like I thought that was just stupid.
Well, yeah. Listen, there's plenty of teams that get into this situation, and there's more than just like you're saying the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't watch their end of year press conferences because I've just been on the other side of this, and I know that half the time these guys are given messages. These guys, like, they're not really saying anything that you know. Most of the time, players are not going to tell you the truth. Most of the time, players are given guidance from a PR person and this and that. So I don't read into that all that much. I really don't. So
well, there's not. I mean, that was my point. There's nothing to read into. Like they posted a like collage of clips over the past 9 years of Leafs exit day, and it's like, yeah, that's what every player that doesn't win says. Like, you know, we learned from this year, and next year we'll try to figure it out and be better. But like they were making it as if it's like only happening in Toronto that this is how guys answer questions.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my
That's notes. True. Unless it's Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin had a great end of the year presser this year.
Yeah. He did step out. He did step out of line a little bit. There's no doubt about that. What about the Chicago Blackhawks hiring Jeff Blashill? I know the team hasn't announced it yet, but I mean, Butchie said it about a week ago. Yesterday, more people talked about it. There's some rumblings of other coaching changes. Kind of curious if what's going to happen with my old coach Kevin Dean, who's the assistant there, but he's over at the World Championships right now. Do you like that hire for the Chicago Blackhawks? I think
I don't really. Again, like, what has Blashill really won? You know, like, granted, I think he was the head coach the last time the Wings made the playoffs. I'm pretty sure, which was what 2016 was that the last time they made it. You know, he was in that organization for I think a decade, and then was the assistant in Tampa this year. Like, you know, listen, I think it's fine. I don't have any like strong feelings toward it. Is he the guy that's going to help Chicago get over the hump or improve next season? No, their roster has to get better. I still think that team on paper needs to get better. Like these hires, you know better than me. I think when it comes to a team that is, you know, trying to get out of the basement of not only their own division, but the NHL as a whole. And I don't know who the right guy for that is. Like, it's a certain personality that has the patience to come in. And you know what? I actually, oh my God, what coach was it? I think it was Cronin actually who said on Pierre Maguire's podcast, he was talking about like how disappointing it is to come into a team and kind of, help them figure it out when everything is negative and there's been a lot of struggles, and then you start to see the positive turn, and then you get fired. Like this job for Blashill, like I don't know if he'll ever really get rewarded for it if he just makes Chicago competitive, because once they do get competitive and if they come up short, guess what? They're going to find the guy that can get them to the next level, So I don't know. I don't really have like a strong feeling about it. These jobs to me are tough, and they're like the worst ones you can possibly take if there's no like long-term plan. Like, what is the long-term plan for Blashill behind the Blackhawks bench?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that, you can be too far out with these types of things. I mean, listen, ask David Quinn how he feels. 3 years in New York, 10 games over 500, and then fired. So, and you can have your comments and have your opinions or whatever, but that's just facts. 10 games over 500, and then I'll look at what the Rangers do the next couple of seasons. But I think with
Vic makes good points. Vic said, he's won a Clark Cup in the USHL, I believe back in 2009.
And he won a Calder Cup. He won a Clark Cup. The guys wanted some younger levels. He obviously knows how to deal with younger players. And here's the other thing that people have to understand. Like, these coaches, we all know who we think should win these jobs, right? But one thing none of us do know is none of us sit in the interviews, right? These coaches go into the interviews, they have a binder, they have a presentation, they've put the roster that they have together, and they come in and they talk to these general managers and they say, this is how I see this roster. This is how I want to use this roster. This is my plan to get these players better. This is where I see guys and their minutes. Like, they come in, sometimes these interviews can be 4 or 5 hours, right? And they're basically putting a presentation in front of a general manager of what their plan is. I have a friend who is an assistant coach in the American Hockey League. He's been a head coach in the AHL. He's been a head coach in the head coach in the East Coast League, head college coach. He's currently an assistant coach in the NHL. Okay. He's a guy I played for when I was a little kid. And I remember when he was going in for some interviews, he kind of showed me he's got binders. He's got the structure that he wants to play with. He's got everything. I mean, this is like the most buttoned up amount of information I've ever seen. And so what we don't know is like, how do these people go in and interview, right? Like, we think, okay, everyone just assumed Rick Tocchet is going to the Philadelphia Flyers, right? Of course. Did he end up in the Philadelphia Flyers? Yes, he did. But we don't know what those interview sessions were like. We don't know how the communication went between the general manager and the head coach. Just because we think something is a fit, we're not sitting on the inside of these interviews. And I think that is a big misconception. I remember, it's funny, like, this was a hot topic in the NFL for years. This guy, Eric Bieniemy. You remember that name, Johnny, at all? He was the offensive coordinator for Andy Reid in Kansas City. And for years, he would get passed over, and everybody cried foul play, and everybody said he's not getting hired for other reasons than football. But my response to that is always, you're not in the room during the interview. Like David Quinn, okay, like he gets fired from New York. Okay, he's a finalist in Seattle. He's a finalist here. He's a finalist there. And then he gets the job in San Jose because, again, we don't know what these interviews are like. We don't know how well they go. We don't know how poor they go. We don't know how they're received by ownership or presidents or whatever. And that's where, like, I think in some level, if you trust your general manager's decisions, okay, and you believe in what they're doing, you kind of have to give them the benefit of the doubt when they make a hire. Like, I personally have no experience with Jeff Blashill, but I trust Kyle Davidson. I think he's made a lot of really good draft picks. I think he's made good trades. I think he's been patient. I think he listens to people. I think he's collaborative. I think he has a lot of great traits as a person, right? So when he makes a hire, I give him the benefit of the doubt. It's similar to Danny Briere. I trust Danny Briere and Keith Jones after knowing them for years. I don't necessarily see the plan right now, I necessarily don't see what they're building and who they're building around, but I do have a level of trust in those guys, so they get the benefit of the doubt when I see them go out and hire Rick Tocchet.
But the key word you said is patience, Colby. Like right now, a coach comes in for like 2 or 3 years, and if they don't meet, listen, obviously meeting expectations is important, but things also take time. Like we're seeing coaches fired after one season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Like having a good coach and trusting a coach is not just a right away snap of the finger thing. It takes time to build those relationships and to actually see success and see turnaround. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is and it's an easy thing to talk about with this coaching carousel, but there is no patience at all anymore. And players, you don't just trust someone right away as a player. It's not how it works. It takes time. But
there are certain figures that have a reputation.
Buying in and trust are two different things. A coach can make you buy in right away. Doesn't mean you necessarily trust him.
Interesting. I think I might look at it a little bit differently. I almost think that you trust somebody before you have to trust somebody before you buy into them.
I bought into Coach Carve right away because honestly, he intimidated me. I was intimidated. So but
was that buy-in or was that fear?
I think a little bit of both. I think they go hand in hand. I think you are bought into something because you do have a little bit of fear in you. No, like you have to kind of abide by what the coach is telling you, or else you're probably not going to play. So you got to be bought in, right?
Yeah.
Like Coach Carve had a certain style that we had to play, and if I couldn't play that style or fit that style, guess where I was going? Right upstairs in the stands. So you have to buy in. You don't have a choice.
Right.
Doesn't mean there's.
I think that's.
But doesn't mean there's trust there.
Yeah, I think that's fear. That's motivated by fear, and I don't think that that's a way for success anymore. I think
Carve is one of the best coaches in college.
Yeah, but I don't think Carve coaches like that anymore.
Not anymore.
I don't think he coaches like that anymore. Yeah. I don't think he's a fear monger anymore whatsoever. I don't think I don't think fear mongering works for hockey players anymore. I think the better way is where you buy in because you respect that person so much that you want to go through a wall for them. I think I talked about that with Pat.
I think that's trust.
I talked about that with Pat Ferschweiler when I was talking about why I think he'll be a really good coach in the National Hockey League, is because I think he's the type of guy you want to go through a wall for.
But that to me is trust.
Right. But I just don't think that you just buy in right away to a coach. Like I think, a coach's reputation earns him the benefit of the doubt. And then you kind of say, okay, I'm starting to trust this guy. I'm going to try it his way. And then you kind of develop that partnership. Right. But, I know we've kind of spiraled a little bit on this conversation, but my point just being is, and I saw Jeremiah, you let me know where that Eric Bieniemy guy is coaching now, but so thanks for the update on that. But I just think I think that we just don't know, that there's so much information that we don't have within these hirings and how these things go. But I do know that you spend quite a bit of time with these people before you hire them. You'll have 2 or 3 interviews. You might have 2 or 3 long phone calls. You'll have some meals together. You might go to dinner with each other, with the families, and just see what the relationship is like. And so I just think that when I see people that I think are good hockey executives make decisions, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like that's always my initial reaction. Like if ownership of the New York Islanders, who, by and large, I think those guys are pretty committed to that team. Okay, if they think Brennan Shanahan's the right fit, then I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna give them the grace period, and then we'll make our decision later. And I think that's that's kind of how I feel. And Al Grundau is saying maybe hockey players have become too touchy-feely about strict coaches. Here's the thing, Al, that I would say. I don't necessarily agree with that comment, but I'll tell you why, because I don't think you're off base in your thought process, but I don't think players mind strict coaches. I don't think players mind structure. I think look at Bruce Cassidy, who is, thought of as one of the greatest and best hockey coaches in the NHL. John Cooper brings him on his staff for Team Canada. Are you rolling your eyes at me, or?
No, I saw a comment.
Okay. And so, I think that, yeah, I saw that comment too. Jeez. So you look at a coach, and Rick Tocchet will be a great example here. Like, Rick Tocchet is not this like walk in the park type of guy. He's not an asshole. So I think you can be strict without being an asshole. And I think that is sort of your modern day players coach. Like, I watched Pat Ferschweiler win a national championship. He's a strict players coach. Even Jack Parker was a strict player. David Quinn, a strict players coach, right? These are people that you understand that there's rules, you understand that there's accountability, but you want to go through a wall because you respect them. And I think that's probably where I'm pushing back the most, is that, you can be strict, but being an asshole won't get you very far. Ask Mike Babcock, right? Like, if you want to be strict and structured, but not an asshole, I think you're fine as a coach in the NHL. I don't think any players have a problem with that. I don't think a lot of players love John Tortorella. He's strict, right? But you still have this healthy level of respect between him and you as a player, where you want to do what he says and what he wants. And so I think that that's probably where I don't agree with that,
Well, for me too, like, I'll give you the best example. I've talked about him a lot on here. John LaFontaine, my favorite coach that I ever played for in junior. I played for him for 2 years when I played in the North American League. And my second year, typically, listen, I'm kind of old enough to say it now. Like, you go into your second year of junior and you kind of think you're a little bit entitled, right? Like, you go through the grind your first year, you get scratched, you're in and out of the lineup, you're trying to prove yourself in your first year of junior hockey, and you come back a little bit cockier, in your second year. Like, you're going to get first line minutes, first power play, commitment, all that kind of stuff. First game of the year, I'm playing top line, playing top power play. I score a goal. I feel great about my first game. Wasn't good in the D zone. John comes up to me the next morning, goes, "Listen, I know you had a solid offensive game yesterday, but you were terrible in the D zone." He scratched me in the second game of the year, but he communicated with me and told me that just because I scored a goal and just because I, created scoring chances doesn't mean I can just slack off in the D zone. So he put me in the stands my second year of juniors, and I'm trying to get a college commitment. But, John being strict, John also understanding how to talk to players. I didn't sit in the stands like, oh, like, fuck the coach, like, he's an asshole. Like, I was like, you know what? I need to watch how other guys are playing the D zone. I have to figure it out for the next game when I get put in. Guess what? Our team won that second game. I got scratched again because he wanted to keep the lineup the same for game 3. So I knew as soon as I got my chance to get back in the lineup, I had to lock in the D zone, and I didn't come out of the lineup for the rest of that season because John communicated with me. He was honest. He said, just because you score a goal doesn't mean you played good. And that was a huge learning moment for me as a 19-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's strict, and that's trust, and that's communication right there.
Yeah. Well, and
other coaches, they just put the lineup, they put the lineup on the board, and they don't even talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think, like I mentioned Bruce Cassidy a little bit earlier, who definitely can weave into the lane of being an asshole at times. But if you know much about his history, he was an NHL head coach many, many years ago in Washington, and he kind of got exiled and had to work his way back through the East Coast League, work his way back through the American League as an assistant, an American League head, all the way up to an opportunity as an interim head coach with the Bruins. And then he gets back into it. Right. And so even him, like, he had to kind of change his ways a little bit. And I saw Jeff made a comment in the chat, and he said 364 days of the years, every player hated Scotty Bowman. On day 365, they got their rings. That is a factual statement.
Well, yeah, there are plenty of players that can come together over hating a coach.
But I also don't necessarily think Scotty Bowman would be able to do that with today's roster. I just don't think that would work in today's roster and with today's groups. And there's a reason, with Babcock, like, he gets that brief second, third, fourth chance, whatever, and he blows it right away, right? You can't be an asshole like that, right? You can be strict, but you can't be an asshole. And that's the thing, Al, just to finish our conversation on this, is like, I don't think players have a problem with strict coaches. Rod Brindamore is strict. That guy is as strict and demanding as anybody in the National Hockey League, okay? But he is a guy who respects his players, so they respect him back, and they will go through a wall for him. But he's a strict motherfucker to play for. He is, right? I mean, so you never hear anybody say anything like that about Rod Brindamore, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the perfect example from what I've heard. Right? Of strict and just the best.
So that's kind of where
we got way off topic, I feel like, with today. But this is what we said in the intro. Like, we're gonna bounce all over the place with today's show.
Listen, there's one game last night. It was not the most, eventful game. Obviously, a couple of power play goals late. Other than that, I mean, Edmonton was just walking all over them. But look, Daryl Sutter. I mean, I don't know a ton about Daryl Sutter's. I've heard stories or whatever. And Randy, listen, it's easy to find one person here, one person there, to always find an exception to the rule. But Daryl Sutter doesn't coach anymore. Like, Daryl Sutter didn't get pushed out of coaching because he doesn't know hockey. He probably just he didn't evolve, and it's probably it is probably why he's not coaching, not because he's incapable of coaching. And listen, the guy had a phenomenal career. He coached forever. He won Stanley Cups. I mean, not much left for him to do. So
just one comment here from Kevin McClafferty. Islanders fan here. Don't hate a Shanahan move at all. Under the Leafs, they drafted, amassed a lot of talent, and seems to have been able to build out strong hockey ops staff, something Lou didn't do well. I mean, if there's one thing to credit the Leafs, like, you can say what you want about these guys in the playoffs, but they did draft very well.
Unbelievable. Very well. Unbelievably well.
So,
and I've said that, listen, I hate that the big thing is the core four. We're paying the core four too much, so we can't build the rest of our team. Teams that draft really well, they should be given, if you re-sign a homegrown,
this is the Colorado thing, right?
If you re-sign a homegrown player that you drafted to a max contract, you should be given some sort of cap savings or luxury tax or discount on the cap, right? I've been saying that for years. Could you imagine if Colorado, if Colorado got a 10% discount, 15% discount on all those draft picks that some of them they don't even have anymore? Byram's not there anymore. Look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now you're going to walk away from your hometown kid in Mitch Marner, and I get it. I understand there's more to the story, but imagine if you got a 10% savings on Matthews, Marner, Nylander. Riley wasn't a draft pick, was he?
Yeah.
He was. Riley.
Brian Burke drafted him.
So imagine if you got a discount on all those players, right? You wouldn't be having the same conversation because there would still be money left over on the end of your cap, right? And so I just think that we have, and Jeff is calling the salary cap. We got to take the training.
Well, you said this about Rantanen, right? When the Rantanen thing first happened, you said this about him.
I think it's crazy that we basically penalize a team for drafting really well for 3 or 4 years, and I think you wouldn't see as many rebuilds if you were to be given some sort of cap savings for max contracts on homegrown drafted players. That is I've been saying that for the last number of years. I think they got to figure out a way to do that. I think the conversation around the core four is totally different because all of a sudden those guys aren't costing you as much against the cap, which means you're able to bring in more players around them. And I think there's other teams that you can look at in the same exact way. So I just think that, that is something that needs to be looked at.
I'm reading some comments right now too. I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot of this.
Did I hurt your feelings, Matt? I just dissed the Stars game, so we have an awful channel.
I don't even think you dissed the Stars game. I think we just covered
did
everything.
I hurt your feelings? Yeah. I think if I hurt your feelings, then I think you might be kidding because I see the LOL in there, and I don't know if you're with us regularly. I don't recognize your handle. So I know most of our chatters I normally recognize pretty well, but I would say you're going to need a little bit thicker skin if you're going to watch our show every day, if that hurt your feelings, because saying last night had a lot of boring moments to it. I mean, listen, it's not wrong. It's like one team absolutely dominated for 2 periods. And then the other team scored 3 power play goals in the third and, overtook the last 20 minutes. So yeah, there was an exciting 8 minute stretch of that hockey game. But otherwise, like, I wasn't sitting on the edge of my seat all night. Like, wow, this game's unbelievable. Like that's the reality of how I felt about the game. So
I will challenge you there, because there were a lot of Connor McDavid moments where I was like, wow, that was like the first move he made. I forgot which defenseman he danced there, through the neutral zone into the offensive zone, and then went blocker side on Ottinger, but he made that save. And then I think he had another one in the second period where he blew by Thomas Harley for a scoring chance. Like, McDavid had a couple of chances last night where I was like, this guy is just unbelievable.
Oh, Vic is telling me that because that person is messaging in from Facebook, everybody else doesn't get to see it, I guess. Someone else, hold on. I wanted one more comment. I think Al said homegrown. So what do you do with European players? When I say homegrown, I'm talking about players that are drafted. I don't care where you're from. Homegrown, I'm using that as like you draft a player at 18 or 19, and then, you bring them up through the organization. So, anyways, I wasn't watching. I got the Cliff Notes this morning. I would guess again on that. But our buddy Jeremiah says I wasn't watching the game. I must have got the Cliff Notes this morning. Anyways, so now Jeremiah gets to tell me what is.
I think Jeremiah is being sarcastic.
I think he's going to tell me what's entertaining to me or not to me. So, anyways. Brandon is dying for us to talk about.
Yeah, Jeremiah was kidding. I knew
the American League, the Calder Cup. I saw this we did put this in the notes. Johnny, do you want to talk about the Calder Cup at all? Doesn't your buddy Chase Prisky play for Charlotte Checkers?
No, Chase plays for Hershey, but John Leonard plays for Charlotte. I mean, I didn't watch the game, but I texted Chase. They got swept. They'd won back-to-back Calders. So an unfamiliar feeling.
Was it conference finals, right?
Yeah. So unfamiliar feeling for the Hershey Bears, but I didn't watch that game, so there's nothing I could really say.
Yeah, I say it all the time on this show. Do not watch the American League at all.
I check in on my friends, but I don't necessarily tune in and watch.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. When I stopped working in Chicago, when I used to watch Rockford all the time, I don't. I wish I did. There's still, a bunch of kids that I like to track, but I kind of lose track of them now until they get to the National Hockey League. And, I'm not going to cherry pick articles and make opinions about the American League. But, look, Hershey's been the model of excellence for a long time. So, let's get into Panthers Hurricanes, Johnny. I don't know. Do we have our
we haven't done a single ad read.
So feel free at any time. I tried to lead you into Out West worst team of the week earlier, but you froze up like you were seeing a pair of breasts for the first time in your life. So I don't know how else I can help you.
That was actually funny. I don't really laugh at jokes that you make, but that was actually pretty funny.
That's what you did earlier when I literally led you right to Out West.
Yeah, but we didn't really talk about it, so I wasn't prepared. I know it was in the rundown we didn't discuss. All right, either way. Let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations, so get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. Colby, I didn't see anything
that funny, but now everybody in the chat's making.
No, that was hilarious. That was actually really funny.
Was that funny?
No, I'll give you credit.
That was hilarious. Now.
You never really make me laugh, but that was hilarious.
That's now the chat's making me laugh.
No, that was good. That was good. But nothing for Brad Marchand yesterday, right? Unless I missed it. I had a travel day, so I didn't necessarily spend the whole day on Twitter. But no fine for Marchand yesterday.
What would Marshy get fined for?
For the Gostisbehere or Gostisbehere, I meant. No fine for Gostisbehere.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
So do you think tonight?
All right, Jenna thought it was funny too. So I didn't want to, I don't want to offend anybody. So I'm glad Jenna thought it was funny. And of course, Jenna thought it was funny.
She's the first time. Yeah.
You're this was recently, wasn't it for you? Karen, I hope you're not watching today. Go ahead, John.
What were we saying? Oh yeah, so no suspension for Gostisbehere. Yeah, that's my bad. I mixed up Marchand and Gostisbehere. Obviously, they were the two involved in the incident. Do we think there's any sort of revenge, even though Marchand already beat the shit out of him? Do you think that carries over into tonight's game?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Like, I think I said this during the game the other day. Like, as much as the score was out of hand, I
think more so though because they threw Marchand out.
Yeah, and I just think the temperature got high at the end of the game, and I don't like I don't like when refs are taking guys out of scrums and giving them penalties because they want to set a standard. Like, I'm going to get the next guy. I don't like that in the playoffs. Like, I want to see these guys get into scrums, and I want to see, the face washes and the punches and all that good stuff. Like, I like all that. I like when that sort of brings the adrenaline to a playoff series. So, look, I think Carolina rebounds tonight. I would be shocked if they don't.
Me too.
I think we both expect this series to go 7 games. I believe you picked Carolina. I picked Florida, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But I expect on home ice, you're going to get a big time response. Does it mean Carolina is going to be able to score? No, we don't know that for sure. But what we know is Freddie Anderson needs a bounce back. But I just Carolina's too good of a team to not to not come back and put up a fight tonight, even against the mighty Florida Panthers.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And again, did Carolina play so poorly? I don't know if I'm ready to say that. Like, I don't think they had a bad game. They just weren't.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call, though. It's very different opponent. It's very different opponent, right? I mean, we kind of got into it over the physicality where Washington never really got an opportunity to be physical against Carolina because that north-south game was just too quick.
But you said that the other day. Isn't that just Carolina's credit for not allowing them to?
For sure.
Yeah.
Saying they couldn't get to their physicality because they skate too well and their north-south game is too quick. Like, I am giving Carolina the credit there, but you're playing a different animal. Now you're playing against a team in Florida that can play at that pace, right? Like, they have the ability to get up and down the ice with you. And we dove into their forecheck. So Al's bringing up the play where Bennett, ran Stolarz. Like, that reminds me, like, Svechnikov went through the crease against Bobrovsky the other night. Yeah. Like, that's going to get addressed. Somebody's going to come looking for Svechnikov. Now, Svechnikov is a tank. I mean, that guy is a tank. Like, he's not an easy guy to run over. And I mean, I think Ovi did it to him at one point, but a couple of years back, they keep showing that clip or whatever. But I think tonight is a much tighter game. I wouldn't be shocked to see like a 3-2 game, but Carolina's they got to be opportunistic, right? Like, Washington was not opportunistic when they got their chances against Carolina, and then Carolina would pounce, right? Florida did that. They flipped the script on Carolina the other night. They pounced, right? Carolina had their moments. Obviously, both teams now have that game under their belt, that rest versus rust. That's gone. That's out of the way. So
how does Freddie Anderson respond?
What'd you say?
How does Freddie Anderson respond? That's the question, right?
Listen, he's given us no reason not to be confident in him this year in the playoffs.
But he's given us plenty of reasons in his career to not be confident in
that. Well, but I think a lot of that has to do with not being healthy, though, right? Like, we always talk about Anderson. When he's healthy,
he was healthy last year.
Usually pretty good.
He was healthy last year.
He
gave up some bad goals to the Rangers last year in that series.
He's always fighting something. So, but he's going to see a lot more pressure. There's going to be some sort of response. Like, don't be surprised if somebody goes running through the crease tonight and you see some contact with the goaltender. Don't be shocked. So, look, Seth Jarvis, he's got to be heavier. He's got to do more, right? He just has to. Not having Jalen Chatfield, the big body guy who can skate, that's another key in this series. I'd be interested to see
if Morrow comes out
up on that third pair. Yeah. I don't think Morrow plays again. I have a hard time seeing that, which is a bummer. We both are biased towards Morrow, like admittedly biased towards him. But I think you got to play the other guy tonight. I mean, there's no doubt you got to play the other guy tonight if Chatfield is still out, which it seems like he is.
Let me look at I follow Corey Lavalette. He does a good job. covering the Canes.
I think he was on the sheet yesterday.
He was.
Yesterday he was on the sheet. Yeah, it was yesterday.
I don't see any updates from him just yet, but their morning skate probably isn't for like another hour.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your thoughts? Do you think Carolina evens it tonight, or you think Florida goes into Carolina and wins too?
I think Carolina evens it tonight, but apparently we're delusional for thinking that because I saw some comments in the chat saying like,
please make Colby say Nikishin's name. How was it? Give me a grade, Nikishin. Go ahead, 1 out of 10. How was that, guys? You notice I'm calling him the other guy now.
No, it was good. Wait, what do you mean the other guy?
I was referring to Nikishin as the other guy, and that's why New York Marine came in with the please make Colby say Nikishin.
Did you see Vic? See what Vic just put in the chat?
I didn't see what Vic put. Nope.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, we said that. We said that.
I didn't say that. I don't think it's a must win for the Canes.
Oh, I didn't see that. I thought he said, I'm talking about our private chat when he said that they'll go after Freddie Anderson, not Svechnikov.
No. Vic from the Daily Faceoff page put I'm calling this a must win for the Canes. I don't think so. Like obviously you don't want to go down 2-0 going on the road against Florida, but like I don't know. For some weird reason, I have blind faith in this Canes team this year. I do. And I don't necessarily know if I can explain it. But yeah, that's the best point. Victor just said it. Can't beat Florida at their own game. Like in game 1, it looked like Carolina was trying to get into the shit with Florida, and that's never a good idea. They just got to worry about the game between the whistles, not after the whistles and stuff like that. And, not playing the style that Florida wants them to play.
Right. Yeah, I'm. You know me. I'm never calling a game 2 a must win. It's not my style. Jim the Swede, where in Sweden do you live? I'm curious. And if we've asked you this before, apologies. I don't remember. But we know you come to us every day. You said the people of Europe. So I'm curious which town in Sweden that you live in. Because Sweden is a great country, and it's I know the boys are all over there right now for the World Championships because I see all the guys and their wives posting all around Stockholm. So what else do we have today, Johnny? I know we got a couple of other business items we need to check off the list.
We have a Ninja Crispy hot take that I think Zach Phillips might either like or despise. So let's get into our Ninja Crispy hot take for today. Curious to see what the chat thinks of this one.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container with Max Crisp, Bake, Air Fry, and Recrisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And this is not meant to be a shot at the Oilers by any means, but today's Ninja Crispy hot take is that the first Canadian NHL team to win a Stanley Cup since 1993 will actually be the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to say it. I still think, I don't want to say I think they're closer than every other Canadian team, but there's something holding back. What? That's what I'm saying. They're not closer, but there's something holding back every other Canadian organization for the most part outside of Edmonton. Like Winnipeg, the goaltending in the playoffs. Calgary obviously has their own issues right now. Don't really have like the elite superstar that they need to get over the hump. Dustin Wolf, you can give credit.
They're not looking to get over the hump right now. They're kind of in a rebuild, retool out in Calgary.
Vancouver is a mess. I don't think Ottawa is anywhere close. Who am I missing? Montreal, maybe they're on the rise. There's some positive things happening there, but I'm not giving them more confidence than Toronto or Edmonton. Who am I missing? Is that it?
So you think Austin Matthews will captain a team to the Stanley Cup for the country of Canada next?
Before anyone else does, yeah. That's the hot take.
That is absurd hot take when you have the Edmonton Oilers are 8 wins away from winning the Stanley Cup with the best player in the world. And
I don't know what year it's going to be.
Maybe the second best player in the world too.
I don't know what year it's going to be, but that's today's hot take. That's going to be Toronto that does it.
Okay. That's about as delusional as Flyers fans.
Why is that delusional?
Social media right now saying the Flyers are going to get Connor McDavid next year. Like,
well, that's just stupid.
Keith Jones made some sort of comment on the radio where he said, we don't want to go after the best available player. We want the best player. And all these Flyers fans are like, we're reading between the tea leaves. The Flyers are going to get Connor McDavid. And I've seen the Flyers are going to get McDavid and they're going to get Quinn Hughes. Like, I'm like, you can't even reason with somebody who thinks that the Philadelphia Flyers that are going to get Connor McDavid. You can't reason with people who think that way.
Vic, you have to screen record all these comments, by the way, because I need this for when this day actually comes. Like, I see Tommy T's comment saying it's delusional because Toronto is about to blow up their core. Maybe that's a good thing, everybody. No?
Johnny, your crispy hot take should be that Alexis Lafreniere is going to score 100 points in the NHL one day. That should be your crispy hot take.
I mean, that is scorching, crisp, burnt, like any word you can think of that represents that.
I mean, that's as absurd as what you just said about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I really don't think so. I really don't.
My friend William Duffy in the chat, goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers Warriors, is asking. He's asking if that came from a source within the locker room. So I'm laughing to see my man Duff here in the chat today. Some delusion.
Yeah. Outside of the Oilers right now, is there another Canadian team that you think will win the cup anytime soon?
I think the Oilers are as long as the Oilers.
You do that a lot. Why do you?
As long as the Oilers have McDavid. Remember, Draisaitl just signed an 8-year contract.
Yeah, as long as they have McDavid, which could be 1 more
McDavid
year.
is going to sign an 8-year contract. As long as they have those two players, they will be a threat to win the Stanley Cup every year. There's no doubt in my mind. So I think Connor McDavid is not only is the best player in the world, but he's also a great leader. Okay,
you're kidding yourself if you think Montreal is closer than Toronto, though.
You watch the way that guy leads. I'm getting on his page. The way he leads a hell of a lot different than Austin Matthews. Yeah. The biggest games, Connor McDavid controls. He's in the mix. He's wants the puck on his stick. You know, the other guy seems to fade away in the biggest games. So
Jim the Swede, funny.
The Stanley Cup without a warrior of a captain. Like, I guess I'd have to go back and look at who's won the last 10, 15 Stanley Cups. Maybe it's not just the C, maybe it's the leadership group. You need a warrior of a leadership group to get through 4 rounds of the National Hockey League playoffs and win. A warrior of a leadership group, because it is a roller coaster. It is an absolute roller coaster. So I think that is really problematic in Toronto because I don't think they currently have a good leadership group. I just don't. So I think that's problematic. So what other business items do we have to get to today, Johnny? Because
we bet 365.
We are spinning here right now. So what do we have for 365?
Wait, Brandon W. clickbait take. Brandon, we do a crispy hot take 3 days a week, and yes, they're hot takes. That's what they're called. They're supposed to be.
My question would be: is anybody ever going to get a Ninja Crispy? Did somebody? How do people win this?
Can we
Ninja
track
Crispy?
that? Yeah, I don't know.
This is kind of an elusive. This is an elusive, the all elusive Ninja Crispy, because everybody's always asking when and how can they win the Ninja Crispy.
Are you asking me or just speaking hypothetically?
I'm speaking hypothetically. What do we have for Bet365 today, Johnny boy?
All right, so let's get into we hit last night, by the way, the over. I don't want to say hit pretty easily. We needed Dallas to get some power plays in the third. But tonight, if you want to get into the action, we're saying like a playoffs at Bet365. They got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Remember, you must be 19 or older. We're going to stick with the totals. And getting Carolina, Florida over 5.5 at plus money seems too good to be true almost, but I gotta scratch and take it. I think it was 7 goals scored in game 1 between these two teams, and after Freddie played, or the way Freddie played in game 1, don't know what Freddie will see tonight in game 2. You got to think Carolina puts more pressure on Florida too offensively, so I like the over 5.5. Seems a little bit low. If it was 6, it'd be a little bit more unattractive, but 5.5 looks pretty good to me, especially at plus money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would agree. The over there looks pretty good. I'm trying to catch up with the chat right now. I see Bobby Bowes taking shots at me, but I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know if that's like a shot. I would love personal chefs.
Well, I mean, I certainly don't have a personal chef because I've talked about on this show. I'm the one who does the cooking around here. So, I just didn't know if that joke started somewhere higher up in the chat and I missed it.
Nothing gets by Colby Cohen.
One game tonight, as we know.
Jake's comments funny. See Jake? Bet on which goal gets elbowed.
Bet on which goalie gets elbowed. Yeah, exactly. So we've got through Bet365. We've hit all the numbers on the show. Give me a score prediction on tonight, Johnny. What's your thought there?
I'm gonna say 4-3 Carolina in overtime.
4-3 Carolina in overtime.
Jordan Martin, like the OT hero.
Gotcha. How do you think our non-defensive defenseman Jacob Slate? You don't think he's got another overtime winner in him?
Which game was that? That was game 1 of the Capital series.
I don't know which game in the Cap series, but I know he had the little wrister that made its way through. I'm going to count how many plays he makes tonight that I don't think are defensive special plays, and I'm gonna tally them up for you tonight because I still don't understand why you're calling him a defensive defenseman. That hasn't sat well with me.
I didn't bring this up.
I know. I'm just saying it still hasn't sat well with me, the whole defensive defenseman talk. So our YouTube channel, by the way, yesterday we saw a big uptick in subscribers. We're down to about 1,500 subscribers left to get to 30,000. So we appreciate the fact that we are getting people to hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We're right hovering around 28,500. Yesterday it was 300. Today we're hovering around 28,500. So we've got 6 weeks, I guess, right? I think the last day of the Cup would be the June 18th, 19th, something like that. So we've got, I guess, not 6 weeks, 4 weeks, but let's keep subscribing. Let's keep hitting the like button. Leave those comments in the YouTube. We got one more show tomorrow. Monday will be an off day. Tuesday, we will have the Gaudreaus with us here on the show. We'll have a lot of hockey to talk about. We'll have the Gaudreaus to talk with. So you're definitely not going to want to miss the show on Tuesday. We're going to see if we can't get us a guest tomorrow. We did talk to Trip Tracy a little bit, who's one of the voices of the Carolina Hurricanes. He had a conflict this morning. We're going to see if we can get Trip to pop on the show a little bit tomorrow, maybe right off the hop and get a little reaction on tonight's game, win or lose for his team. He obviously has quite the pulse on it. So that is sort of tentatively speaking what our plan would be for tomorrow. And then we'll kind of go from there as the day moves along. I do think with some of these other hires and some of these other things happening around hockey, I think there'll be a good opportunity, especially as we move into the next round to do stuff that's not necessarily game specific, because we're going to have days off between games, right? We're going to have plenty of time to talk about the game, plenty of time to preview the game, and we're going to have plenty of time to kind of bounce around the NHL into other things that are going on. I know Olivia's asking about Memorial Cup stuff. We are working on that, on sort of teeing that up and making sure that we're collaborating with other shows on the platform with guests and people who come on, just to make sure that we're working together and working as a team. So with that, hit the like button on your way out the door. Tyler and Frank back at noon today on DFO Live. The sheet will be its normal 3 p.m. time as always. I don't know, Zach, if you want to hit us in the chat with who will be coming on the sheet today, if you have that answer yet. If you don't, then you'll want to just keep an eye on the Sheet social media channels for the rest of the day. They do a pretty good job of announcing who's coming on that show. I really liked Pierre on there the other day. I think Pierre does. He's such a good guest on these types of things. So Zach is telling us Aaron Ambrose is going on the chat. I don't know who that is, Johnny. Okay. So there you go.
Olympic gold medalist.
What'd you say?
Olympic gold medalist.
Gotcha. So I do know that people were asking us in our comment section about the PHL. So you'll get your fix of that on the Sheet today at 3:00 with guest Aaron Ambrose. So you'll want to catch that. Johnny, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to today, or if not, I'll let you get on your way and let our listeners get on their way. Make sure you set those automatic downloads. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week before a little Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. So we won't see you guys for almost 4 days. So lots to catch up on. So with that, we hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget, make sure you are all over DFO Live at noon, all over the Sheet at 3 p.m. They've got Aaron Ambrose joining the Sheet today with Jeff Merrick at 3 p.m. And then obviously producer Zach will pop in and pop out as he always does. I think I will definitely try to get in the chat for that show today, just because the family has already taken off and gone down the shore. So it's just me and the dogs here for the next 48 hours, Johnny. Maybe I'd even invite you.
Want me to come over?
Yeah, you want to come over? I'll grill some steaks. I'll make some dinner for us. Little guys hang out type of deal.
Well, you actually do that?
As soon as we get off, I'll send you my address. I live in Western Pennsylvania, okay? Somewhere near Pittsburgh. Anyways, we hope everybody has a great day. Enjoy the shows throughout the day. Enjoy tonight's hockey games. Johnny, shut up. We'll see everybody back here 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that